Hey, you guys.
And we're back.
What's going on?
Yep. Okay.
Every goddamn day, you guys.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What was that?
Was that your thing? Did you not have the volume turned down?
Yeah.
On
That's
your
what
thing?
It is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's
I
like on
recognize
2.
that.
It's like on
I can
2.
still hear it though. It's
Sound like it came from over there.
Yeah, it's a ghost.
It's Ghost. Yeah.
That's what it is. Or it might be the sink. I left the sink dripping so Pookie could drink out of it.
Yeah. No, it sounded like it came from over there. I just thought it was echoing. But yeah. So gonna do Jack Reacher. All right. This had been recommended to me on one of the other shows in live chat.
Yeah, like a while back.
I can't remember who said something about it, but then everybody was like, "Yeah, you should see the Jack Reacher ones." I think that might have been Louis that was talking about this series. I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it. Evidently, there's books and everything. So
yeah, there's a fuck ton of books, and they've only sold like 100 million copies.
Yeah, I didn't know. Anyway, I liked it. It was good. It's basically Tom Cruise as Batman, but he's without the suit. Real similar, and without the fucking money. He had money, but he didn't have a job. He was homeless. He was living off his pension, and nobody could find him because he had erased his identity. He only dealt with cash, and he just bought clothes and threw them away when he was done with them. He didn't even have any bags. All right.
What I didn't understand though was that he still lived on his military pension. But it's like to get a military pension, you still have to have like a bank account and an address. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he would take it to Western Union or something like that and have it. No, I think he had it.
Did they explain that? Maybe they explained it.
They sent it to Western Union and he turned it into cash.
Okay.
So I think that's how it happened. I don't think he had a bank account.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I'm like, well, to open a bank account, you have to like.
Yeah, he had it rigged up where he was totally invisible. Nobody could find him.
He's a ghost.
Nobody could find him. He's paranoid. But he had powerful enemies. It turns out he was like an ex-military master detective. He was a cop, like an MP. And he was just, he just said a lot of shit. It was fucking funny that, if you're ex-military, you're like, oh, yeah, right. He goes, yeah, but, you civilian cops, you deal with murderers, but all my murderers were trained killers, because they're all in the military.
Yeah, so it's like,
he had to be
mic drop.
Right. And then turns out, he's dealing with real corrupt fucking corporations and shit in the military industrial complex and everything. So he's got to be totally fucking invisible. And because he's an investigator, he knows how to hide. And it was a good movie. It was kind of what the hell?
That's my phone.
It's your phone.
It was a notification.
It was kind of I don't want to say samey, but it kind of was samey. You know what I mean?
It's very, I was gonna say it's very Tom Cruise.
Very Tom Cruise.
But if you like that,
yeah, if that's what you're looking for, then that's what this is. In the beginning of the movie, this crime goes down, and then the dude who committed the crime asked for Jack Reacher, and the investigators on the case were like, "Who's Jack Reacher?" And then they pulled his file and shit, and they just name off all this fucking high speed shit.
This dude is like
he did
king of the world.
Yeah, and he goes, and then they start naming off all his fucking medals and shit, and like some of them are so rare they have to look them up, and they're going on and on about this dude's fucking credentials, and I go, oh, that could only be Tom Cruise.
Of course.
That could only be Tom Cruise, and of course, Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher.
He's like, yeah, that's me pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm amazed they didn't say he's also won like the Nobel Prize and Oscars and Golden Globes and
funny.
Fucking whatever the hell else. Pinewood Derby.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's funny is, guys that have been, have served and shit, a lot of the real impressive sounding medals, I mean, to a civilian, you can read into, well, what must have happened for him to get that medal. And during times of war, you could just read, dude's fucking, his jacket, his DD-214 is just filled with all kinds of shit a lot of times. And then you see the dude, you go, that's him? You know what I mean? And a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff, dude technically wasn't in combat, just... The one that was If a dude is alive and he's got the fucking Congressional Medal of Honor with whatever kind of device on it, it's very rare. Usually those dudes are dead. The one that really meant something was stuff like fucking Bronze Star, Silver Star, fucking... They had the other one, there was one that was kind of an aviation one. What was it called? Fucking... Not... Some kind of cross, not Knight's Cross, I don't remember. But there was some good shit that, like door gunners and fucking... Apache pilots or Apache gunners would get, but I forgot what that one was called. But I don't know. I never really give a fuck what anybody's medals were. You judge the man, you know what I mean?
I think the funny thing about it, and this is probably coming from the books too, which I think I read one of the books like a really long time ago, but I kind of like looked into like research them. I think I've read more of, because Lee Child, the guy that writes the books, he also does books with what's his ass? Douglas Preston, I want to say. Like I've like with what's the name of that like creepy like almost vampire like Pendergast? Okay. I've read a couple of those. I think I read one of the Jack Reacher novels like many, many years ago because somebody loaned it to me. So, can we say, I don't know if this is entirely accurate, but I feel like the Tom Cruise character in this, or the Jack Reacher character, maybe in the books as well, would we call him a Mary Sue?
Yeah.
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 That's what I was thinking. Because, like, when they, when he comes in, they're talking about him, like, before he gets there.
Yeah.
And they're, like, listing off his accomplishments. I'm like, this bitch is good at everything.
Yeah.
Like, everything he can do it. And he's, like, not shy about telling you either.
Yeah.
Like, he'll totally come in and, like, condescend to your ass because he's, like, he's better at fighting. He's better at shooting. He's way smarter than everybody. He's just kind of like, so I was kind of like, this is like a Mary Sue, right?
Yeah, he is.
Although, is like the male equivalent is Gary Stu, is it not? I think
know.
it is, yeah. But yeah, he's a total Mary Sue. But I think that mostly like comes from, I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny. I wish they had kind of like upped the humor on that a little bit. Yeah. I mean, this does have funny shit in it, but not like funny, hot, like outright funny. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think Cruise would have allowed it to become kind of like a parody.
That's what I'm saying. But, that's probably why.
You're supposed to take this shit serious. It kind of like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible.
That's what I'm saying. It seems like almost a similar character. And okay, so what I didn't know. Now, I feel like most people know, like if you read books at all, but Lee Child has written, I don't even know how many Jack Reacher novels there are. It's a fuck ton. And it sold like hundreds and hundreds of millions of copies. Jack Reacher is like a beloved character. Now, the books are kind of like, I saw like somebody compare them. It's like they're kind of like those old school like men's adventure novels where they're like super over the top and like the guy is like, I'm the best at everything, motherfucker. Yeah. He's one of those types. So it's like a fantasy kind of thing. Yeah. Now, when this movie first came out in 2012, like the novel that it's based on came out in 2005 and it was called One Shot. But when the novel first came out when the movie first came out and they announced that Tom Cruise was going to play the part, all the fans of the books freaked the fuck out because one of the defining features of Jack Reacher in the books is that he's a big fucking giant muscle-bound dude. He's 6'5". Yeah. He's like 250 pounds. He's this big fucking and he's not only that, like he's just this big beast of a person. Because he's supposed to represent like a force of nature, kinda. And he's also, like I said, best at fighting, best at shooting. He's also a math genius. Yeah. Like he's kind of like so he's good at everything. Yeah. Somebody said, I can't remember what book it was, but somebody said something that made me laugh. They said one of the books, and they're like, and I shit you not, actually has a scene where his bullet is stopped by Jack Reacher's peck.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, no. And he's like, no, seriously. Yeah, sure. He's like, that's the level of the book. It's like, it's funny. It's like supposed to be over the top, but it's not like comedy. Like I said, it's like a male fantasy, like alpha male fantasy kind of like books, like those old like men's adventure things.
And those dudes never read those kind of books. It's always a guy living vicariously through that shit. He's usually an older guy. He's, armchair guy. Armchair commando.
Well, yeah, they're so they're just like supposed to be fun.
Yeah, same guys who read Western novels back in the day. Right. The male equivalent of the old lady reading Harlequin.
Like bodice rippers.
Yeah, Harlequin romance novels.
Oh, I don't like those, but yeah, it's kind of the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like something.
But it's like that same kind of shit.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a male fantasy kind of thing. But like I said, they seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So when it was announced that Tom Cruise was going to play the character, everybody was like, "No, he's like a little bitty guy.
Yeah.
He's nothing like."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Lee Child was kind of, being diplomatic about it, and he's like, "Yeah, fine." I think they were talking to Dwayne Johnson first.
Yeah,
which is more like the closer. And they said had they made these movies back in the 80s, it would have been like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or somebody like that. He's like a big, bulky dude.
Yeah. Sly wasn't big enough. Sylvester Stallone wasn't big enough.
Well, what they did, and I didn't know this until we watched this movie and I was like researching it, but Amazon has an original series because Lee Child always said, well, he's written so many books about this character that they really kind of need a series to like expand it out because he's had so many like adventures and cases and stuff. And so he's like, well, it should do a series. So actually starting, it just came out February of this year, so just like a couple months ago. And they did a season 1 of Jack Reacher. And they got, I can't remember the name of the actor. I've seen him before, but I can't. But he got a big fucking bulky dude. He's not quite 6'5". I think he's 6'3". Yeah. But he's like a big muscular. And they said he even put on like 30 extra pounds of muscle like to play the character because he wanted to look like this big beast. And they said that it kind of like that like kind of accords better with the guy from the novels. And they said actually the series is a lot more violent than the movies.
Sounds like I like it.
You probably would. And like I said, it's on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it. The first season is up, and it apparently like people are liking it a lot. They said, it's a lot more violent, and they have like a lot more room to like bring in elements from some of the other books and like other cases that he's and kind of get a little bit into his backstory and stuff like that. So apparently like people are really liking it. But yeah, I didn't realize... I mean, I just thought, like I said, I thought this was like another Tom Cruise like action vehicle, which he does a lot of those. So, and it does kind of come across like that. It's still a good movie.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really like stand out from some of his other ones. Like I said, like the Mission Impossible ones or some of the other like...
Or almost like Collateral.
Yeah, or like Collateral. Because, I mean, Jack Reacher is not necessarily he's not a bad guy.
But he's not really a good guy
But he's not really a good guy either.
Yeah.
I mean, he just kind of like, he seems to have like honor, but he kind of like doesn't really worry about what the law is.
He's kind of like the Punisher.
Like
the Punisher, but, although, there's been a bunch of different interpretations of the Punisher. But he's kind of like that. But he happens to be an investigator, too, so... In the way of kind of like Batman being a private detective, you know what I mean? Figuring out, where guys are coming from and figuring out who's a patsy and this and that. But he was just pulling shit off the top of his head. He goes, I know what's going on. He didn't even have to. He could look at the evidence and just look at it and understand exactly what.
It'd be like every single cop that's been working on the case. You like guys are stupid, man. Figure this out. Although I have to say that. I mean, I kind of figured out, because if you don't know, like at the beginning of the movie, there's like a sniper, and it's in Pittsburgh, and he just like goes out and like takes out like 5 random people, and then they're saying something about like the quarter and the parking and everything like that. I'm like, well, this is obviously a frame up. Like that guy didn't fucking do that. So the fact that he comes in and says, yeah, it's a frame up, and they try to figure it out, I was like, well, that wasn't that hard to figure out. And you'd think like the cops would have figured it out beforehand. But then there's like, I'm not gonna like spoil what happens in case you haven't seen it, but. You know what I mean? So he hooks up with somebody asked, like, who's the blonde chick in this and what does she do? She's, that's Rosamund Pike, right? She's an attorney, but she's like the DA's daughter.
Yeah.
Right? And then she's so she's defending the sniper.
Yeah, and her dad is fucking crook. He's a crook. But actually, he's not really a crook. He just told her not to fucking take this case and ruin her career because they're all corrupt.
Well, and because everybody, like, they didn't really know, what the deal with the sniper was, and they were just kind of like, well, nobody wants to defend this scumbag because he just, like, killed, like, 5 random-ass people. So he was, like, ruining,
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like that. But, yeah, I mean, on the whole, I actually kind of like this, but you can very much tell... I mean, from what I've read about the books, it's a lot more toned down than the books, and it's not... I don't think the books are necessarily supposed to be funny, but they're kind of like... I don't know if they're kind of like wink, like there's just super over the top, but they're just supposed to be like super fun and exciting. And
we read stuff like this when we were kids.
Right.
There was a series I read, it was fucking badass. It was called Traveler. You can still get it. And it was like Mad Max.
You told me about that.
It was like Mad Max. It's like Mad Max and the Punisher. It was post-apocalyptic. There's an Army Ranger guy running around in a damn dune buggy fighting fucking the remnants of the U.S. Army, and they were all fucked up, and they were the bad guys. And he ends up hanging out with a genetically engineered animal-human hybrid dude named Lynx, who's fucking a bipedal Lynx. He could talk and everything, and he's popular with the women. It was fucking bizarre, man. It was good. He started fighting other cars, and there was these Sen cars. They were biological centaur things that had wheels like cars and bone, and giant fucking rhinoceros that could be bipedal. It was a good series called Traveler, but it was over the fucking top, and it was like what you saying, Jack Reacher. He'd get out of anything, you know.
Yeah.
And there was like about, I don't know, probably about 40 issues. Went on for a long time.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's like wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's like stuff that it's like, hey, I'm just going on vacation, and you just want to read something that's like kind of fun and breezy, or I'm just going to read it on the airplane or whatever. Like just kind of like take your mind off shit.
Yeah. One thing about Traveler though, you guys could look it up. You could probably still get the Army had injected him with some kind of fucking super soldier serum that made his senses really good. He could see in the dark, and he could detect things. He had like spider sense, and he could get badly injured and heal up real quick. So he's, in a way, kind of like Wolverine. But it made him crazy though too.
I hate when that.
Yeah, it made him crazy. He was insane for years. He woke up and the world had changed, and he didn't know where he was. And he tried to find all his Army buddies who'd been injected with that shit too. He eventually finds them one by one. But anyway, or the ones that had lived. It was a good series.
Camp Guy said John Grisham novels read like that too. Total Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I kind of feel like there's a lot of real popular novels that read like that. Slasher Fred said one of these days you should review the Jack Ryan movies, including the 1990 film The Hunt for Red October. Yeah, that's right. Harrison Ford played Jack Ryan in several movies. Yeah, it's just like there's tons and tons of these, and I can't even remember like all the authors' names, but that are all these kind of just like intrigue kind of novels, like political intrigue or corporate intrigue or spies and shit like that. There's like tons of that stuff is like always like real big sellers, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so these books in particular, like I said, they've sold like bajillions and bajillions, but everybody was just kind of, I think once people saw the movie, they were kind of like, oh, he was okay in it, but I think they were still kind of like disappointed. So I'm thinking the series probably people were happier about that. Now, one thing I will say is that Tom Cruise, as he usually does, did all his own stunts in this. So he did all the driving and all that kind of stuff.
He did all the acting too.
He did all the acting too. Amazing. Can we talk about, what this movie needed more of though?
That
Werner Herzog.
Yeah, he was good in it.
Werner Herzog,
creepy fucker,
played kind of like the main bad guy, I guess. I mean, he wasn't really the main antagonist in the sense that he was kind of like the shadowy, like big boss. You know what I mean? So I love that he was in it because Werner Herzog is creepy as shit. Yeah. And so he was creepy as shit. I didn't like that the way that like his character was wrapped up. It seemed a little anticlimactic. I will say that. I did like Robert Duvall in this, turning up as like the gun store owner that was just kind of like, we're gonna go like shoot some people, and he's all like fucking fun and everything. That was like pretty cool.
He was trying to get back into action.
Yeah. That was like super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this, like I said, it was a good movie. But it was just like another like Tom Cruise action vehicle.
If you like that kind of shit, then you would like this.
I kind of feel like the more I looked into the books, I was just kind of like, oh, I'm glad they made a series. It seemed like closer to the books because that actually sounds more interesting.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that he's like a lot more distinctive character.
Right.
He's not just like generic Tom Cruise action guy.
Yeah.
He's actually like a big, bulky fucking fighting dude, but he's also like a math genius and all this other kind of like who can figure out, like he's Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
But in this big, huge like fucking. So I was like, that's interesting. That's like an interesting character and somebody that like that that stays off the grid and like just turns up. Yeah. I mean, the funniest scene to me, and like I totally called it too, because remember at the beginning, because when the guy like the purported sniper is in the coma, And he wrote down on the piece of paper, like, get Jack Reacher. And they're like, what? The one of them said, who's that? And they're like, I thought that guy didn't exist, or he was just a legend, or some shit like that. And then they were like, well, how do we find him? And then the guy says, oh, I don't think you find him. I think you find him. And I'm just like, wait for it. And then he shows up. And I was like, called it. Yeah. Because he was just going to like, hi, I heard you were like, I psychically knew that you were calling me. Yeah. I was like, that's like what a badass he is.
There's this one scene where this young chick fucking sits down across from him in the bar and immediately asked him to go outside with her and go fucking make out in the car, and he's like, and he has her pegged as a hooker, and then she gets mad, and then like 7 dudes fucking rise to defend her, and it was all a setup. And he takes them outside and fucking whips all their asses and shit, and most of them were bigger than him. Now the choreography was pretty good. They made it kind of believable that he could do what he did. I mean, War Machine was only 170 pounds, and fucking he could fight a whole group of dudes outside a bar and get them to run. But you know, so I guess he did that. But it would make more sense if he was, like you said, 6'4".
Yeah, and then he would just go pow.
But here's the truth about that: dudes that are 6'4" and just fucking built like that, nobody fucks with them. Not even in the group. You just.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, yes, that ended up being a setup very obviously, and he like knew immediately, because as soon as that girl comes over, because I said a random woman is not going to come over and sit next to a stranger and be like, "Hey, babe," unless she's a hooker.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, so he called that like that doesn't happen in real life.
No.
So so he knew that it was a set, and then when the other guys came over, he's like, "Oh, I see what this is." Yeah. So he automatically knew
the whole thing was a setup.
That's what he was going to do. Yeah. But you would think that whoever like when they did the setup, if the dude was like he was in the book, that you'd think that they'd send like a bunch of big bruisers, like somebody more like his size.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas these guys were kind of like they were bigger than him, but they were kind of like average size.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
Right.
I did like the one scene where Werner Herzog like told that other guy to chew his own fingers off, or he was gonna shoot him.
It was a great scene.
I think that was probably my favorite.
And he goes, "They always choose the bullet. I don't understand it." Yeah.
And then like I'm totally over that. I wasn't even drinking when we were watching this movie. I'm totally like, I wonder how could you do that? And I'm like sticking my fingers in my mouth and kind of chew. I'm just like I don't know. How badly do I not want to get shot? Could I actually like chew my fingers off if I had to? I thought about that for like way too long.
Depends on your will to live.
I guess. I mean, you know. So Werner was just kind of like, well, I guess he didn't want it because he had to chew. He had to chew off his own fingers. Because we're sitting there going, why are you chewing off your thumb, bro? Like, chew off your pinky. You don't need that. But I guess he had to chew off the same fingers.
You would think that if you pulled a gun on somebody and says, do this or I'll shoot you, then they'll do it. But no, there's thousands and thousands of videos of cops pulling guns on dudes and the dudes just rushing the cops. You know what I mean? And supposedly a sane guy. And over a damn parking violation or something. There's a lot of people that are irrational that just would rather be shot and killed than to submit. And just, you know, so.
Or maybe they don't think the guy's gonna shoot them. Maybe they think that it's like they can't really like conceive that they would get shot and killed.
That would just be a sign of just massive, massive ego and solipsism. That I can't be killed. The world exists because of me.
I wouldn't doubt that some people probably do think that.
Yeah, maybe.
That was the first thing that I jumped to.
They won't shoot me. And then the fucking cops just plug the dude and he bonk, dirt dies.
You shot me. Well,
feet doing this on the ground. You shot me. Yeah. And then bonk, dead.
I told you I was going to.
Yeah, there's a lot of it on YouTube. It's just a channel called Police Activity. And very impartial.
Police Activity.
Yeah, Police Activity channel. Bizarre shit happens.
That's what I call Pookie's daily routine. I call it Pookie Activity. Yeah. Yeah. She goes from activity to activity. That's why I laughed, because I was just kind of like, Gadget3 says everyone is bigger than Tom Cruise. By the way. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And the one scene, like I said, when the guys like go out of the bar and he's gonna like whip all their asses, and but he has to make a speech first. It's just kind of like, well, you know, this one's the leader, so I'm gonna kick your ass first, and then I'm gonna kick the second in command's ass, and then there'll always be 2 guys that are gonna run away and blah blah. So he has this whole like situation worked out, which of course is what actually does happen. But when they do like a long shot of him like standing in the middle of the dudes, you can actually really tell like how small he is compared to the other guys.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. No one's quite sure how tall Tom Cruise is.
I've heard 5'6". I've heard 5'7". Although I kind of feel like
5'8". I think isn't that they claim 5'8". I think.
No way.
I think they claim 5'8".
No way.
You guys could look it up. What do they? How tall do they say he is? I think they say 5'8", but there's no way. And when you see him next to David Miscavige, he's bigger than David Miscavige, but David Miscavige might only be about 5'3".
I think David Miscavige is my height, and I'm 5'3".
Yeah, 5'3". And I have Tom. Now I don't know what kind of shoe game he's doing, because there's a shoe game.
He's got like some big Frankenstein fucking.
You know what I mean? I don't know exactly
Frankenstein monster bullshit there.
I think Tom is 5'6".
See, that's what I suspected.
Yeah.
And in fact, somebody was even making a joke, like in the comments of like one review of this that I was saying. They're like, well, maybe he read that the Jack Reacher character was 6'5", but because he's dyslexic, he saw like
that's funny.
But because he saw 5'6", he's like, oh, it'd be perfect. And I'm like, mean, but probably like that's probably true. And like I said, I don't have an issue with like dudes that are short and stuff like that. But it just
I'm 5'6".
Yeah, he's 5'6" too.
Yeah,
so it's just kind of like I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
It's just I think people had an issue not just because Tom Cruise is short. Obviously, nobody has an issue with that because he's a zillionaire and he makes a zillion movies still. But I just think that they thought, well, he's not Jack Reacher. He's not that character. He's nothing like he's described in the book. So I can see that. But I think he did a good job. But like I said, I kind of feel like it was too generic. And again, that little smugness, I don't think it would have bothered me as much if it was like some big giant dude and he was more like stoic. But Tom Cruise, like I said, he has that natural cocky assholishness. Yeah. And so everything that he says, it's like, oh, I'm correct about everything and I know everything and you don't. And so like when he says it like that, he always comes across as like really smug and it just makes me want to smack him in the mouth.
Yeah. And I fucking repeat,
you know what I mean?
I've told this story. Yeah, people fucking recommend Tom Cruise movies to us because they know I'm going to talk about Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Kind of like the way they try to get me to talk about fucking Steven Seagal.
Although we generally do not watch Steven Seagal movies because most of them are just boring as shit.
I got a lot of respect for Tom Cruise. Okay, he actually is skilled. He can ride motorcycles. He's pretty good. He's pretty good with guns. And
he did all his own driving.
Does his own driving.
Like all the driving,
he can fly,
chase scenes, and all that shit.
He can fly aircraft, and he takes a big interest. Tom Cruise really, they fucking give him what they would call in the UK a bollocking. Okay?
Bollocking.
Because mostly I think it's a cross between Scientology and shit talking. But his shit talking isn't like direct shit talking. It's that jumping up on Oprah's couch type shit talking. It's just something. But in his defense, Oprah and the female audience seemed to be eating that shit up that he was doing.
Yeah.
A lot of the fucking stuff comes from his association with Scientology, which is very unethical fucking. But I understand how Scientology works. It's a cult. It's kind of got a paramilitary tinge to it. And it turns a lot of people off, but understandably so. Just because of what would happen to... There's victims, the way they treat children, you know what I mean? They treat children like adults. They lock people up in religious prisons.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Weird. It's fucking hardcore. But they're not playing around. They leaked... Scientology leaked a video of Tom talking about Scientology, and he's giving a message to other Scientologists that only Scientologists really know how to fix problems. Like, when there's a car crash, hey, Scientologists take care of that. Not the ambulance, not paramedics, but Scientologists. But
see, that's kind of the energy I was getting from him in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the best. I know everything. I'm here now. I'll solve all the problems.
Yeah. You're welcome. It looks hilarious from a non-Scientology point of view, but he's just trying to talk up and motivate Scientologists. So everything had a different... He's a PR man. He's an actor. And the church wanted him to fucking rile up the audience of Scientologists. So he was, he's giving them a good... He's blowing them, basically. Blowing literally, blowing the Scientologists. Fucking
line them all up, and we're just gonna
making them feel good about themselves.
Gotta fluff them.
He's fluffing one by one. But so the only stories that I think are kind of legitimately kind of fucking strange about Tom is that Tom doesn't seem to ever turn off. He's always on. He's always the Tom Cruise that you see on screen.
Persona.
Yeah. And when he talks to regular people and other actors and stuff, just in a mixed crowd, he kind of comes across as being on, like he's on stage. And that he's kind of trying to be a normal person, like you guys. But he doesn't really know how to. He can't just chill out and hang out. That's what they say.
Yeah, see, I get that. I very much get that vibe.
Right. He can't.
I very much get that vibe.
Yeah, he's like that. He's got to be on.
He very much seems, he seems like all surface, like he's kind of fake, and he just always came across like that to me. Even before I even knew about all the Scientology bullshit, he always came across like that to me. And like I said, he always comes across as like smug. Yeah. And even if he's being like super nice and everything like that, you always get the feeling that he thinks he's better than you.
Right. What he's doing, because he's a trained Scientologist, which has a paramilitary tinge to it. Tom is doing what's called command presence. It's the presence or the persona that you put on when you're in front of your troops. Okay. So he's around other actors, and he's like, "Hey, how are we all doing? Aren't we all doing good today?" So it's almost like a corporate/military meeting. It's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not. That. It's not. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
It's not an actual friendship or an actual relationship, or it's not even very professional. It's kind of just like live action propaganda. All right. And it's because he's dealing with non-Scientologists. They're wogs. That's what they call them. Wogs.
You gotta watch, because in the UK that's a racist slur.
Yeah, but the Scientologists call non-Scientologists wogs, which is means kind of like mundanes or garbage or something like that. It's a derogatory term. It's like calling somebody a dummy. So goes into a command presence and tries to. It's a form of manipulation, really, and keeping people at arm's length. He doesn't trust them, so he's going to put on the mask. I don't think he's well integrated with normal people. I mean, shit, the way he grew up, how could he ever have kind of like just a normal friendships with people? He's surrounded, I think, by Scientologists most of the time, or he's in hiding.
Well, and and plus he's like a superstar, and he's super, super rich, which obviously like isolates him from his fellow man. But then there's like another layer of it on top of that. So I would be very shocked if he could actually just like hang out and act like a normal person.
Now, some ex-cultists in Scientology say that he's kind of one who was it? What's her name? Described him as diabolical.
Leah Remini?
No, was it Leah? No, wasn't Leah Remini. It was Karen de la Carriere. I think said that he was diabolical. That's how he's really. That he's not a. Which basically they're talking about is like a high-ranking commissioned officer that's been around and fucking commanded lots of fucking people, because he does that. They'll command people to work on his car and shit. You know what I mean? Because they use Scientology as. Scientology's partly Tom Cruise, you know what I mean? He can get them to fucking modify all his vehicles and change the interiors and shit. They're kind of like slave labor in a certain way.
Well, it's exactly like slave labor.
Yeah, slave labor. So he's used to being in command of Sea Org personnel and stuff, which is kind of like a military command. The Sea Org is kind of like a... Man, we're getting off on fucking Scientology.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it's a part of the movie. And
that little dude tries to boss me around. I kick him right in the nuts.
Yeah. So he would be superior to you in any relationship. If he's talking to you, he's better than you.
Yeah, see, that has always come across to me, that he's like obviously thinks it's like, well, I'm clearly so much superior.
I would just think it was funny though. Because I'll fucking punch that fucker. We got the short guy thing coming on. He's fair game. I could punch him. We're the same size.
We're the same size.
Yeah, we're the same size.
Yeah, so nobody could like accuse you of like picking on somebody smaller than you.
Yeah. And usually short guys click. So we'd probably click, and I'd start fucking with him, and he'd say some Sea Org shit, and then I'd fucking throw some Army Ranger shit at him, and fucking, okay. And I'd start fucking with LRH, like, fuck L. Ron Hubbard, you know. And then he's, and then we'd get into it, and I'd punch him.
Tom's already got he's got it all planned out.
No, but I'm just fucking around, because I actually like L. Ron Hubbard. I don't believe him. I think he's full of shit, but I thought he was a master storyteller. There's good movies about him. and the cult liked him. He was fairly nice to them. He was popular with the cult. I don't think he was a bad guy. He just went crazy. I don't approve what he did with his families, but with his wives.
That was fucked up.
A lot of guys have fucked up relationships with their ex-wives and ex-wives.
Fourth row down says Tom Cruise is actually 2 guys in a trench coat.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. We got a super chat.
Oh boy, did we really?
Yes, we did. Finally.
Danny Rowling says Mimi Rogers said their love life was like being married to a monk.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't think his guard is ever dropped. I don't think Tom Cruise ever drops his guard.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's anything of substance underneath there. Gadgy3, thank you very much. Just for cheek. Short guys can still kick ass. Maybe not me these days, though. I mean, yeah. So, somebody asked if we were going to review the second movie.
Yeah, why not?
Jack Reacher, Never Go Back.
Sure, I'd watch it.
That came out in 2016.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Now, the weird thing about it, so the first movie, even though, like, fans of the books kind of bitched, but it did, like, make a lot of money. I don't think it made quite as much as they were expecting, because I think it was supposed to be, like, a whole franchise, like the Mission Impossible movies. This might even be the same director as some of the Mission Impossible movies, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah, it was going to be a whole franchise, but I think, like, then the first one didn't make quite as much as they were expecting, and then the second one came out, and I think that didn't make quite as much either, so they were just like, fuck it, and they just decided not to do it anymore. But like I said, they started, like, the series, so people seem to be, like, much happier with that. But, I've seen, like, little clips of it, and it does kind of look more like what I was picturing, when people were talking about the books. I'm still laughing about that stopping a bullet with your peck, though.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody said that, because like I said, I was reading an article about comparing, like, the books and the movie, and there was, like, all these comments of people that had read the books and talking about how fun they were, and they talked about, I can't remember what book it was, but they said, yeah, he literally stops a bullet with his pack, and I laughed and laughed and laughed.
I'd like to know what caliber that he was supposed to have stopped, because standard shit, people...
I think it was a 38, because I think somebody asked that.
Well, 38...
I think, if I remember correctly.
Depending on what bullet configuration.
Because I was, like, laughing really hard.
Depending on bullet configuration and weight, you're talking about something on par with 9mm. 9mm full metal jacket can go through probably about, I don't know, maybe 20, depending on the barrel length, maybe 20-something inches of ballistic gelatin. That's like 3 rib cages.
Well, yeah, obviously. This is just kind of like... Yeah. And then somebody, like, the next person said, oh, it would have been way funnier if he'd actually, like, bounced the bullet off and, like, shot the guy. Shot him. That'd have been, like, way better.
Yeah. You're not stopping any bullets.
With your peck-a-toing?
Yeah. Even 22 long rifle will fucking go into your turtles.
Ah, that'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, you're not gonna stop.
Well, that's why somebody brought it up as like an example of like these are the kind of books we're talking about, because they're like clearly that cannot happen. Yeah. But that's just like what a badass this dude is. He can just like control. He doesn't even have to have the bat suit on or anything.
The weakest thing commonly out there would be 25 ACP, and that'd go through a pack. I think that would even go through a rib cage after a thick pack. Yeah.
But see, that's why these books are like male escapist fantasies, because they're like, here's this big fucking hulking motherfucker who's good at everything. He can even bounce fucking bullets off his titties. Yeah. I mean, come on.
25 ACP out of a subcompact pistol, like a little baby Browning or something. There's not much barrel there. Has pissed off a lot of guys, being shot with that. But it's killed a lot of them too. About half of them, depending on where it hits. But it never stops the bullet. It'll stop in you.
Yeah, it'll stop, just not where you want it to
but not in the peck. And it's not real destructive. It's kind of most of the time the wound's similar to what an ice pick wound would be. So I'm saying, don't carry that. You're likely to piss somebody off if you shoot him with that. You take that thing from you, shove it right up your ass. Better be a headshot. And even that, I have to be above the eyeballs.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like when I was watching a thing about the series, and they were talking about how much more violent like the series, because it's closer to the books. And then I was thinking back to the Tom Cruise movie, and I was like, yeah, that's really not all that violent, was it? It might have just been PG-13.
Yeah, it wasn't that violent.
It was a
fun movie.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. I thought Tom was good in it. I thought, you know, it was just a good standard. And you know, look, I'll fucking, everybody's tried to make a few bucks fucking with Tom Cruise and making fun of Tom Cruise. I respect Tom Cruise. He's a good actor. He's good at what he does. People go to see his movies to see him. He's a brand, you know, and you pretty much know what you're going to get if you see Tom Cruise. He's got the #1 movie right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's still fucking making movies. He can make like after all these decades,
over $1 billion. All right. We still haven't seen it.
Yeah, we need
probably still in the theater.
We need to get off our ass and go to because I want to see Black Phone too.
Yeah.
But see, the thing about I was gonna say, oh, we should go see Black Phone, but I want to see it in Dolby, and the only Dolby showing is at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah, but I'd be fucking tickled pink if I was fucking Tom Cruise right now with how much Top Gun 2 is kicking ass. I mean, Tom Cruise can fucking bring it if he's got the right movie and it's the right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he started out in the fucking 80s.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and he's still going strong. He can still do fucking stunts. He can still do all that shit, and he still like brings all that money in like for movies. People are still going to see him, so you know.
So you just got to respect that angle.
So he doesn't give a shit if people say he's short.
And he doesn't give a shit if people fuck with him about Scientology and being a fucking snotty motherfucker. For all I know, if you catch him in the right day, the right situation, he might be awesome. It might be that he just has to be on around certain kinds of people.
I just thought of like something terrible. What if we were like driving around one day and we got in an accident and the only person that came by to help was Tom Cruise
shows up and he's resuscitating me.
Well, like, he does it. He's just going.
Yeah,
he's just trying to do like Scientology magic.
It's called touch assist. He starts giving me a touch assist and shit, and I fucking come back to life. And he goes, I saw that review you did. You're fucking with me. Look, I did let you show up to save you. She would be hilarious. She would be hilarious. I said, all right, Tom, you're coming on the show. All right, we're gonna tell this story. All right, we're gonna tell this story, and fucking your shit's you're gonna be smelling like fucking roses when your story's over, man. Fucking, you were right. You're right. You're fucking what? Your OT powers are true. You know?
Yeah, we're gonna tell everybody.
Yeah, and then he's gonna say, yeah, well, I stopped the space-time continuum and backed up and fucking heard. Once I heard that this happened to you, and then I fucking backed it up again and took a plane to show up here to intersect with this fucking car accident because of what you said on that show. Just to show, you know what I mean? That'd be a fucking trip. I was like, fuck,
oh, man. My God. We should make that movie.
Yeah. That'd be a great movie.
Let's start on the screenplay, like, now.
Yeah.
Maybe we could actually get Tom Cruise to be in it and play himself.
And then I become a convert, and I start fucking going through the fucking bridge to freedom. Know what they call it? The bridge to happiness? What do they call it? The bridge.
The bridge to total freedom.
Bridge to total freedom.
Right, yeah.
And I have to fucking just sell everything to make OT9 or OT8. You know? I'm robbing banks to get the money. To get all my OT powers. Fucking hilarious.
Oh my God. I would totally watch that movie.
Yeah.
I would totally watch that movie. Yeah. But only if he would like.
I could write it right now. We write it together.
Yeah, we'll just write
that shit together.
And then we'll get him to do it.
Yeah.
Because he has to be in it, like himself.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get Scientology to bankroll it. We could get them to bankroll it because it'd be like Scientology propaganda.
Yeah, I get the touch assist and fuck wake up and I go, is that Tom Cruise? And he goes, yeah, it's me.
Yeah,
fucking slaps the shit out of me. What you said fucking on that what the fuck? You said you were gonna beat my ass. Fucking Tom Cruise treat me like a bitch.
Oh my God. I want to see this movie so bad now.
Yeah.
We need to make it.
Yeah.
I'll just make it on my phone. We'll get like a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
Of Tom Cruise, just like my one of like Mirror Universe Spock back there.
Yeah. And then
we'll just have like, and then somebody can do the voice. I can't do the voice. But.
And then after all that shit, like fucking like a couple months later, I'm like, I fall in love with Tom Cruise.
And then the sequel is like a love story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Brokeback Mountain.
It's like Brokeback Mountain shit, yeah.
You and Tom Cruise go camping.
Yeah, and he
can't quit you.
And here's the thing, man. He can't quit. And then he goes to fucking, he goes to auditing, right? And he tells them. During his audit, he tells them about what happened. And then they start using me as dirt to control him.
Yeah,
and I gotta
like
save
blackmail.
him. And I gotta save him from Scientology.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then he becomes COB afterwards. We overthrow David Miscavige and fucking Tom Cruise.
This is like a whole trilogy.
COB. Yeah.
We could make a whole trilogy.
COB. Right.
Holy shit.
Right. Fucking ridiculous.
Man, we just like, like this is like printing money, bitch. We came up like
that movie would make millions and millions. It would outdo Top Gun probably. It would. If he came out with some shit like that, yeah, he'd top Gun. Top Gun 2, it outsells.
I should write some like Chuck Tingle-esque like novels where I should write them like that, but it's like I could change Tom Cruise's name slightly so that he can't sue me. Yeah. But that everybody obviously knows that it's him. Yeah. And then maybe someone will option it and like make a trilogy of.
Yeah, and David Bowie's in it.
Somewhere, somehow. Hey, he was in the David Lynch movies. He was in the Twin Peaks movies. You know, so we can
with those
squeeze him in there somewhere.
With those pants from
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
With his balls swinging.
Yeah.
Nice.
That shit's fucking hilarious.
I mean, when he was doing those glass balls, like he's like glass balls up here, glass balls down here. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know how he started talking about David Bowie's balls, but you know what I mean? That's how that shit happens. Yeah. So
I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, we went on for like an hour. I can't believe we came up with a whole like Tom Cruise trilogy just while we were sitting here. God, we're fucking geniuses. We're geniuses. I'm telling you right now. All right. So we're going to take off and go get something to eat, I guess, because I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, we're going to be talking about... Should we spoil it? It's just this movie that we just randomly came across.
Yeah.
On Amazon. It was on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
Like, on Free to Me.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's good. Watch it.
It's like a post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it has Peter Dinklage in it.
Yeah.
It's called I Think We're Alone Now.
Yeah.
Like the Tiffany song. Although that was a cover, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a post-apocalyptic movie.
It's like a drama. It's not really a horror movie.
No, everybody dies in some kind of... They don't really say what it was, some kind of weird pandemic.
Yeah, I don't think they know.
And there's a town of... had 1,600 people and only one dude survived it. And
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, and he's a dwarf.
Well, everybody knows Peter.
Yeah, well, I didn't know.
He's
never even heard of him.
He's a little person. He was on Game of Thrones, and he's been in tons of shit.
He's taking care of the town and burying all the dead, and he's been out there for a long time.
Well, don't spoil it.
And then one day, this damn beautiful girl shows up. And he didn't want anything to do with her. It's weird, you know. But then it gets... You're going, what is this movie about? It takes a while for you to realize what the movie's about.
I really dug it, though. Good. I mean, it's a slow burn, and like I said, it's not really a horror movie. It's post-apocalyptic, but it's more like a drama.
Yeah.
But...
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Boy and His Dog. Not quite as zany and action-packed, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
It almost could be in the Stand universe of Stephen King's
Yeah,
The
we
Stand.
kind of thought that maybe that's what it was.
It might have been that. Yeah.
Gadgy3 says, I'm 5 foot fuck all, but back in the day I could kick the shit out of a mofo twice my size at the football. Yeah, I was one of those bell ends.
Yeah, the biggest threat...
Bell end is one of my very favorite like British insults, by the way.
The biggest weapon that a short guy has is that if you beat a dude's ass and he's taller than you, his name is Mud. They can't lose to you. So a lot of times
that's like getting beaten up by a girl.
It's like it's not that bad. It's just they don't want.
It's like one level out from.
They don't want to get their ass beat by a short dude.
What would happen if you got your ass beat by Pookie?
I don't know.
That's way down the fucking thing. All right, so we're going to be talking about that movie tomorrow, which, like I said, was actually really good, and we just came across it randomly. So we'll be back tomorrow to talk to you guys. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you for the super chat, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.